Introduce Jennifer Hackett. She's with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans Maritime Region in Halifax, and as I mentioned, she's on the COINAtlantic Management Committee, which she's been very helpful in making that project work, and she's going to talk to us about classification.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm very pleased to be able to give this very brief overview. I'm actually representing a multi-sectoral working group which is led by Michelle Greenlaw and Amy Gromack, but it covers federal and provincial members in the Departments of Environment and the Fisheries and Aquaculture, DFO, NRCan, and the Canadian Wildlife Service, as well as a VISTA department in the province of Nova Scotia. But this group came together under CPANS, the Coastal Protected Areas of Nova Scotia, which looks at classifying the coastline in order to be able to do the marine protected area network planning. In this case, we're looking at the Nova Scotia coastline, the whole coastline around Nova Scotia, as well as the New Brunswick Fundy shore. So I will be just saying why this came into being, and a bit about the geographic scope, because that was a bit difficult to decide, the scale that was relevant for this project, just a bit about the methods, and just a couple of data sets I'm going to show you, and the preliminary results. And finally, I'll talk about a little bit of next steps. And next steps just aren't really concerned with us. They might be concerned with you too, because I really feel that this product that is being developed will be useful for more than just the purposes that it was done in this case. So as I said before, the CPANS coastal protected areas of Nova Scotia recognize that the physiographic coastline classifications have already been developed on a number of scales, but for very different management purposes. They can be used to predict patterns in biology where that data is absent. And for the Marine Protected Area Network planning in what's called the Scotian Shelf Bay of Fundy bioregion, which I'll show you later, we really do need a robust ecosystem habitat classification for the marine area. So the CPANS working group suggested that a subgroup form to review what was available and make recommendations. And so it formed the Nova Scotia Coastal Classification Working Group. And what that subgroup determined was really the existing coastal classifications were very terrestrial in nature. They really didn't consider that even the intertidal zone, and certainly not the subtidal zone. And they were created through varying approaches, and they were often very narrow in scope, either the sensitivity of the shoreline, or other aspects. And so therefore, for the purposes for the Marine Protected Area Network planning, a sufficient representative classification for Nova Scotia doesn't exist at all. So the purpose of the sub-working group was really to come up with a coastal representative classification and to be used for marine protected area planning and also for broader ecosystem management, and hopefully for other purposes as well. So in order to ensure that there was an agreed upon classification, the experts from the various federal and provincial departments were brought together because there was no sense getting the federal fisheries folks come up with a classification that really didn't work with other groups. So this is a list of the participants. As you can see, we do have Nova Scotia Department of Natural Resources, Environment, also representation from Dalhousie University. The federal groups were Department of Fisheries and Oceans Science, as well as the Oceans Management Group, and Natural Resources Canada. And you can see that New Brunswick was also in there, and that's because of the New Brunswick coastline on the other side of the Bay of Fundy. So as I mentioned before, the scope was kind of a difficult thing to really come up with. Because of the bioregion, which you will see later, there were two interconnected classifications required for marine protected area planning. One was the Scotian, with the subtitle, coastal zone, and that is very much DFO-led. And the limits for that, on the inshore side is the lower watermark, and on the seaward limit, it's about 100-meter depth, and that really translates to the extent of the DFO trawl survey, and it also is approximately the 12 nautical mile limit. And that covers this Scotian Shelf Bay of Fundy bioregion, which you haven't seen yet. The second aspect of marine protected area network planning in the coastal area is the coastline. And instead of being DFO-led, this is much more of a collaborative effort, and that's what this presentation is really concerning. So that the seaward limit abuts the subtidal coastal zone at the lower water mark, but the landward limit, like the presentation before us, we had to really determine what that was. And so we felt that that was the limit of where either the marine waters, any marine sediment, or any saline influences went to. So it is very much a judgment call where that is. And this, instead of just covering the Scotian Shelf Bay of Fundy bioregion, because we had a lot of the provincial Nova Scotia folks around the table, also extended around the rest of Nova Scotia. So it encompassed the northern shore of Nova Scotia and the Northumberland Strait.
So when you say saline influences,
salt spray. Yep, salt spray. Yep, that's right. So the existing classification scales, oh, you guys could read it quite well, went from the almost the global scales where provinces are determined. So these are actually existing classifications that are out there. The bioregion, which is the level, the Scotian Shelf bioregion, so that's the level of area that we're working within. And we really had to come up with a classification scale that was somewhat under the bioregion level. So there's a regional classification that goes all the way down to community levels and to just units of segments of coastline, which were really too fine for our purposes. And as I mentioned before, the bioregion, which is defined under the national framework for Canada's network for marine protected areas, and I will pass this around. This is available on the website. I'll get you to do that on either side. And somebody can keep those because we just print them off from the website. The Scotian Shelf bioregion is the bright blue, which extends from the tip of Cape Breton in the Cabot Strait area out to the 200 nautical mile limit, and all the way around to the Canada-US border in the Bay of Fundy area. So that's our area of interest for the bioregion. But for the purposes of the coastline classification, it does go all the way around Nova Scotia into the Gulf bioregion. So as I mentioned before, there were existing regional classifications already developed, and in particular, one that we looked at quite rigorously was the Owens and Bowen from 1977, because it seemed to give the number of segments that we hoped to achieve, but we really did feel that it didn't serve our needs and our purposes, because as you can see, segment 6 is just this long segment along the eastern shore of Nova Scotia, which we felt actually should be subdivided.